Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. My name's Sheldon and today we're going to have a look at another one of the random instruments that I bought, a violin in this case, because I do like to buy things randomly from auctions or other kind of marketplace things. So this is going to be video 2 in our Violin Acquisition Syndrome video series. So this particular violin that I have here, that's in a little bit of a sorry state, this is a Mittenwald violin from around 1820. Now actually I did get a dendro done on this violin. For those of you that don't know, chronological kind of testing is kind of using tree rings to date kind of instruments or timber from houses, etc., kind of grain ring patterns against other items or against kind of forests, against trees. It's just a way that you can kind of map out the date. So I got Peter Ratcliffe to do that. He's a really well-known dendrochronologist and kind of maker, kind of expert on violins, and he did the testing on this and it came back as about 1780. Lots of matches with Mittenwald violins and English violins. A lot of the kind of wood was kind of shared at that kind of period, so you might see that wood kind of all over Europe. Was it the best instrument to have a dendro done on because it does cost a bit of money? Probably not, but at the time I thought it was quite interesting. Now I kind of know a little bit more, so probably in the future I wouldn't necessarily test something like this, but I've had a few other instruments tested over the years and it is quite an interesting kind of thing really. So what to say about this instrument? So yeah, it's had a bit of a hard life, as you can tell. There's some kind of cracks here, I'm not sure if this is replaced wood or just really badly kind of repaired. It's quite hard to tell. The thing with some of these Mittenwald instruments is they also used to put kind of like these kind of extra kind of wings, they call them, at the end when they didn't have like big enough bits of wood. It's kind of quite common. I guess it's like a cheaper way of kind of getting you know, a good full top instead of like searching for a kind of a full piece of wood. And actually it has it on the back as well, so you can see when we do the close-up video a bit later, you'll be able to see that there's a wing here and a wing here, and it's kind of hard to tell, but I think there's a wing up here. It's a bit difficult. It was actually a bit tough, I think, for Peter to kind of really know what was going on with this, even though the grain's quite wide, so that's handy for dendro, but it was a little bit kind of difficult. So yeah, this violin, it's got lots of cracks and repairs on the front, which is kind of unfortunate. It's lost a lot of varnish, I'd say, on the top. Another kind of unfortunate thing, so it would need quite a lot of work to get it going. It's got a big kind of crack here on the shoulder which will need attention, kind of other various things. So the varnish is quite nice on the back. I think that's actually really quite nice, so that's one of the reasons I got this violin. You can see there's some worm intrusion here, which is unfortunate. We'll see this when we do the close-ups, and I think there's some other evidence of, I think this is probably worm here, so this is all problematic. Worm can be quite troublesome on instruments, so but I think yeah, a bit more of the original varnish is here on the back, and yeah, I think it was quite a nice instrument. It's had obviously some repairs, got an ebony crown here. Really nice scroll actually. Really like this scroll a lot. Another thing that kind of drew me to it. I'm not sure if it's the original scroll or not, but it is really nice. It's taken a bit of a bump here, so it needs a bit of a kind of repair, but yeah, other than that, an interesting kind of one. Everything seems fairly normal from a kind of the plate kind of point of view, or kind of fairly kind of normal plate thicknesses here, and you know, all the arching seems to be fairly normal. Maybe it's like a little bit kind of flattish in some parts, but I think it's kind of okay. I quite like the F-hole position. I mean, in general it's in a bit of a terrible state, but I think it's a nicely made instrument. There's obviously some damage to the ribs and some bits that need to be repaired, but yeah, I think this could be a nice instrument for someone, but it would take like a fair amount of money and work to get this kind of going again, and like I said, all these breaks here to get this varnish looking nice. But I think it could be a good violin. These Mittenwald violins from this period I think are actually like quite nice, probably a bit kind of underrated. So yeah, I think it could be a viable instrument. This is one that I think I'm going to keep for now, not one that I'm going to get rid of. Will I get rid of it in the future? Would I sell it on to buy something else? Possibly. I'm not kind of like super attached to it. I mean, I'm not really attached to any of them at all, but I do, for the moment, I think this is one that I will kind of keep hold of. But yeah, needs a fair bit of work. There's definitely other kind of worm bits here and stuff like that. But yeah, a nice example of that kind of early 19th century Mittenwald violin. So now we'll kind of move over and do a bit of the kind of close-up shots and have a look at some of these interesting wing joins, and also some of the worm and stuff like that that is on this instrument. So thanks a lot for watching so far. Right, so here we are getting a bit of a close-up of this Mittenwald violin. You can see a bit more detail when it's here, so you can see that there's some, the colours are going a bit funny because I'm at night here, but you can see there's some damage here, possibly some inlaid wood here, some kind of worm damage, and just general corner repairs, other kind of cracks here that need attention. So quite a lot of work needs to be done. A lot of the varnish is kind of missing, but otherwise it's got some charm. Slightly kind of asymmetrical F-holes there, but definitely a bit curious. We can see here that the plates on this violin are fairly kind of standard. The arching not too bad, maybe a little bit kind of flat, but fairly interesting. But nothing too crazy going on here. Actually, it's fairly solid in the in terms of the ribs, etc. So not too bad. Then looking at the back here, it's not really picking it up very well today from the colour point of view. We've got some really dodgy lighting going on here, so apologies for that, but it is actually in better light. Quite a nice colour. We can see down here quite a lot of worm intrusion there, and it looks like there's some worm here as well in that top corner. It is unfortunate that the light is a bit dodgy, so there are some problems with this instrument. Neck has possibly been kind of reset or broken at some point. It has this ebony crown. Also has a neck graft, so that's some work that's been done. Really cool scroll, actually. Really like this scroll a lot. Yeah, really interesting scroll, really nicely made. Not 100% sure if it's kind of original to the instrument or not. I can't remember if I checked with the UV to see if the varnish was the same or not. Can't quite recall that. We've got like a very bad kind of crack here at the upper bout, so that will need a bit of attention. But you can kind of see when you look at this overview that this would have been quite a nice violin at some point and quite a nice varnish. And I think it's definitely a viable instrument. Maybe not for a kind of super high-end professional, but I mean, well, maybe it could be for someone like a kind of a good amateur, or someone like a bit of a lower level in an orchestra when it's kind of done. Will need a bit of repair for sure, but yeah, I think it's a nice instrument, and for now I think I'll keep hold of it. It's in the right light, it's got quite nice varnish. So yeah, there you have it. That is a Mittenwald violin from about 1820. The Dendro report saying about 1780 for the wood. Usually you expect 20 plus years or so of kind of letting the wood season, and also you lose a bit of rings either side or so, or you usually lose a few rings when people are making instruments, so that's why the kind of 1820-ish kind of date on that. And also I sent Peter Ratcliffe some pictures, and he was almost certain that it was a Mittenwald violin, so I'm happy to go with that. But yeah, I think a nice instrument, and I'll probably keep hold of it for a little while, and then at some point I will probably move it on. So that's it really. If you've got any thoughts or comments, or you know, any other information to add, just please let me know. So thanks a lot for watching, and really appreciate it, and I'll catch everyone next time. Ciao.